beautiful people, welcome back. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today I am bringing you Elisa Caro. So I was introduced to her through a friend and I'm so excited to share with you what she does. If you're not having the best time in the bedroom with your partner or even just by yourself and you would like to turn that around, continue watching because Elisa, she is a tantric practitioner who has helped so many people to really connect with their body. Not purely on the physical side, but also mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Now let's be honest, if you can have an extraordinary time in a bedroom, why the heck would you want to have an ordinary time, right? I personally feel like the society in general should be more open to accepting our bodies. And that's where Elisa comes in. This episode is great for literally every adult. Single or not, male or female, you will be able to learn a thing or two. Now here is a pre-warning. There will be swearing in this episode, so if this is not the language that you're comfortable with, then I guess you will need to miss out on having a great time in the bedroom. Otherwise, enjoy!
Before you talk about your story and your service with everyone, I would love to ask you, how are you feeling today?
I am feeling excited. So there is a part of me is like super excited about this interview, but also like there is a lot happening for my business. Like I'm pivoting and changing and rebranding. So it's feel excited. And at the same time, there is a sadness for like, I'm longing to see my family. I'm longing to, to see my friends and go to nature. And right now I'm in Melbourne, which is in lockdown almost since 5 months. And so it has been a little bit intense, and there is some grieving of the loss of freedom and connection with nature and people I love. So there's like this mixed feeling today inside me. That's how I'm feeling. Excitement and some grieving.
Yes. Thank you for being so honest about it, because sometimes people, they will put a mask on and be like, I am good, but really they are not. And yeah. Well, since you have told everyone that you miss your family and etc., actually, would you like to share with everyone your story before you start your business?
Right now, I'm working as a sex and intimacy coach, mindful sexuality facilitator, and practitioner. And yeah, I haven't always do that. I used to work as a civil engineer, which is like totally like another realm.
Yeah.
But I feel that, my story a little bit, like I was born in Italy and I was brought up by parents that were quite open-minded. So there was like this, I learned about meditation and yoga since I was a kid.
Oh, wow.
And self-inquiry and spiritual, like development since I was really a little kid. Like my parents brought me up with this, very open-minded way. And so in a way, I was always different from the other kid. Like my approach towards life was a bit different. And I was even introduced to Tantra and sacred sexuality by teaching on my parents. Not that it would do something with me, but they would, lead some meditations to support me moving my sexual energy if I had any period pain. My mom would teach me like breast massage in a way of keeping my breast healthy since I was like 14, 15. So I've been really introduced to tantric practice, Taoist practice, which is kind of holistic and sacred sexuality since I was quite young. And then, as every teenager does, I rebelled towards my parents, and instead of following their approach towards life, I kind of like said, no, the career is the most important thing, and science and using my logic brain. And so I kind of like rebel towards that, and rebelling towards my parents in that moment looked like study civil engineer, right? Because they were all about what's your true self want to bring into the world. I see your feminine side, you love to dance, what do you want to do? And I'm like, civil engineer. and so that was my rebel moment. I'm done with your hippie stuff. And so I went through that path, and I did a bachelor and master, and I was very honored. Like I graduated with like the best grade with honors from the university.
Good on you.
yeah, like the best, you know, in Italy, like it goes from 0 to 110, and I got 110 plus, like it was just,
Wow.
yeah. So I was a very good student, and then I started working, and I felt like, damn, I don't love this, I don't like it. I was starting to get sick, and my mom, which is a very wise woman, she said, because I needed some surgery for some things that I had, my mom was like, no way, you're gonna go and cure yourself, heal yourself through like yoga and holistic medicine. And so both of my parents kind of like supported me to quitting my job and going through that path, which, yeah, was great. And back then, because I didn't want to do it that much, it was like, I'm still going to book a surgery, but in 6 months, and I'm going to go there and do your thing. And then I never needed the surgery because, yeah, things just resolved as I was living more my truth and my integrity and my authenticity. That's why, if you ask me how I'm feeling, I'm going to tell you that I miss seeing my friend and I miss nature, and I feel sad about it, as well as excited about the next step of my business. So, you know, like, I'm just going to be honest and direct because it's an important value for me.
Yes. Thank you for being honest and direct, because that is something that is really missing in the world right now. People always try to pretend to be somebody else. And like you said, they don't know how to connect with their true self. And wow, like, all I can say is thank you to your parents. Honestly, not everyone is that fortunate to have such open-minded parents. They are amazing. But why civil engineer, by the way?
Well, I think there were people in the family who have done that, which were a role model for me. And so I think that was influenced. And then in general, in my studies, like in high school, etc., I always have been quite a good student and always had very good grades. It was kind of like, if you're good at school, you can do what you want. And so there was a lot of freedom given to me if I had good grade, and it was fine. I liked it anyway. So,
Yeah.
and so one is like because I had role model that did that, and the other reason is because in general, physics and math were coming to me quite easily compared with Latin or other subjects such as philosophy or, you know, even Italian, like writings. I was not as good as with math, like logic stuff, problem solving. It was just, it would come easier from my brain. Just,
Yeah.
that's how it's wired.
Amazing. And also thank you for saying that you healed yourself naturally, because that is something that I'm super passionate about. So you never ended up doing the surgery?
No, I didn't have major things, but no, I didn't. It was
Wow.
just about me embodying and expressing my sexuality fully, because I repressed it. You know, as a civil engineer, like a hot chick, she better like repress her sexuality and be like a man if you want to be respected in that environment. And other things that, I was not speaking fully my truth. And so it's an important value for me to be authentic.
Yes.
And yoga and pranayama and different lifestyle and understanding the belief I was having.
Amazing. Well, for those who don't really know about yoga, especially don't know about Tantra, would you like to explain to people, please?
Yes, of course. So Tantra, which I feel like I'm such passionate about, is a philosophy which is quite ancient, and despite is known in Western society as, you know, the art of sex, it's a lot more than that. So let's say then 100%, if we gave like 100% of the teaching, probably 15%, 20% are about sexuality. And the rest are about practices such as yoga poses, such as mantras, such as other transmission about ways of working with energy, breath work techniques, pranayama, practices such as bhakti yoga, which is singing, devotional singing of mantra. So there is a lot more to that. And it's okay that in Western society we just take what we want. It's like they have great tips about good sex, but it's good to consider that is a lot more than that.
Yes.
Because otherwise we would diminishing the depth and the potency of those teachings. Give a definition of Tantra. If we say it in one sentence, is a path towards enlightenment. So it's a spiritual path. And yes, I help people with that. So I really help people finding sexual fulfillment through sacred sexuality. So learning how to live in sexuality in a holistic and sacred way, and utilize this energy not only for pleasure come, but is almost a byproduct of utilizing that sexual energy to self-development, to freedom of expression, to supporting their own path of awakening. That makes sense.
When you talk about sacred sex, can you please elaborate that for everyone?
Yeah, of course. I would love to elaborate that. I feel like my mission in life is supporting sexuality to be free from shame and guilt and embodied for the depth that it can be embodied. So let me share with you how it can be embodied in a very deep way.
Yes.
Sacred sexuality, or soul sex, or tantric lovemaking, however we want to call it, it's a way of bringing depth of sexuality, and is a way of engaging sexually, not only with our body. So Tantra talk about 5 bodies. So if we have the physical body, the mental body, the emotional body, the energetic body, and the spiritual body, which is the essence, the spirit, the soul. And so sacred sexuality is about engaging all the layers of your being, not only, here I am, I open my leg, yeah, great, I have an orgasm. It's about bringing your mind, your emotion, your heart, your spirit, your energy in the lovemaking, and uniting, with one person, with yourself, in this very holistic way. In Western society, it happened a split between spirituality and the human life, which encompasses things such as the body and sexuality. And part of the human experience, which is natural, has been demonized or criticized or dismissed. And Tantra is about bringing sexuality as part of the spiritual practice. It's not diminishing the value of sexuality, but it's actually saying the act of sex, it's sacred, and sexual energy is natural, and it's very strong and potent. So instead of dismissing and repressing and thinking that we should feel guilty about our desire, how can we use this energy for a very refined intention, which is to expand our consciousness, open even more our heart, support our body to heal, connecting deeper with ourselves, with someone else, and with the one, if we want to call it that way, the universe or however. And so that's kind of like really the core. And I know that it seems so like out there. It does. And I think that in my work, what I do is that I've been creating clear processes and short processes to support people going from like, what the fuck is sacred sexuality, to living it through, like little step. Because with my engineer brain, I'm kind of like taking this woo tantra, and I'm like, let's make it simple. And so, like chop, 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 right, here's like a nice process. And I think it's really missing in our society to embody sexuality with this depth.
For those who are listening and watching, if you want to have an amazing time in bed, also have an amazing time with yourself or with your partner, whatever it is, or just have an amazing time in life, I really encourage you to get in contact with Elisa, because the way that you have described it, it's honestly more than just sex, really. It feels like you are having a deep connection with your soul.
Yes, that's what it is. And for me, is sex, but it's not what our culture defines as sex.
Yeah.
So my clients often say, that was not so sexual. I'm like, what are you talking about? And they're like, I mean, it was amazing and blissful and my heart open and I but it was less sexual, if you know what I mean. I'm like, it was less what you used to define sexual. It's like, yeah, so that's soul sex, okay? Like when you feel the bliss, the openness of your heart, pleasure throughout your whole body. Orgasms are there, but they're not as important because actually the shift of consciousness that you're experiencing, it feels like a lot more intense than the orgasm itself.
Yes, I love it. And I actually love how you and I, we are openly talking about this because, like you said, the society has made this topic really taboo, being like, oh, like you shouldn't talk about it or whatever. But in a way, I also feel like it's not encouraging people to accept their whole body. And that is why so many people are like, oh, like I should look like this, or they are not accepting their own body. So how would you encourage people to be more accepting of how they are, really?
The first thing is understanding that most people are whole and they're perfect as they are. And what happened is that because they're being embedded in a sexual negative environment, they have picked up some beliefs that is not who they are. Those are learned beliefs. So understanding that their essence, for any listener, your essence is perfect as it is. And because of certain experiences that you're being exposed, you start to believe that you're not sexy if you don't act in a certain way, if you don't look in a certain way, that you're less than good if you are not meeting certain standards. So you've been starting to believe that you might be sexually broken or that something is wrong with you, but there is nothing wrong with you. And the work I do is actually peeling off the layers of limiting belief that people have taken on, but it's not who they are. So the first step is understanding there's nothing wrong with you. And you have just, make yours some messages that you heard from whatever, parents, society, and so you are perfect as you are, and your work in a way is to remember that. Even on myself, I used to have a lot of self-judgment about self-pleasuring, and I see that in all my clients. And what happened is that kid, when they're 3 or 4, they start to explore their bodies. They start to touch themselves. And it's natural and it's normal. And what happened is because our society is so sex negative, they often met with a sense of disgust almost from either parents, or if they do it, at the grandparents or some peers or some at the school. And so they're being told off. And when their brain is like a sponge, they're discovering their bodies and they're feeling pleasure, and then someone is telling them that's disgusting, even maybe not saying it, but they're feeling it within because they give a transmission of what they're perceiving, right? And then 20 years later they say, oh, self-pleasuring is not for me, or I have a sense of guilt when I touch myself, I don't even know why. I try to do it quick to get it done. It's just a quick release. Why? Because we learn that was wrong, so we do it quick as a release, or we don't do it because we shouldn't be doing it, or we just assimilate that it's not our thing. But I'm telling you that most likely you assimilate a message from the outer world that told you it's not okay to touch yourself. And that's like a simple example. And many people don't remember to being told off because they were quite young. But as they work with their sexuality, sometimes they remember. And even if they don't remember the specific memory, they feel a release and a relief and a sense of freedom when they start to self-pleasure with openness and ease, instead of feeling guilt as a quick release or a waste of time.
Thank you so much for telling everyone that they are whole and they are perfect as they are, because honestly, a lot of times people don't believe that. And yeah, I find that very disheartening, especially, you know, how social media is so easy access, and then people judge themselves against other people. So thank you so much for reminding everyone how amazing they are. Now, I feel like a lot of couples, they are probably not having their best time in the bedroom.
Yeah.
What would be, let's say, the 3 simple tips that you would like everyone to start using?
Yes, easy. Thanks for the question. I like those questions. So first of all, open communication about sexuality. Faking orgasm, faking that you like something when you don't, hiding porn addiction, hiding desires, hiding fantasies doesn't work. So be honest, be clear, be authentic. Yes, it might trigger people. Yes, moreover, like, men have been taught that they should be competent from society. You know, they should know everything already. Fuck that. We all learn, we all grow. I release any man that is listening from needing to know everything already. So when their partner, a woman, a man, whatever, tell them that how they've been touched was not very pleasant or something, they're not getting super triggered, because they don't feel judging their value, like they're not good enough. Like, that's the main thing, like, oh, I'm not good enough. But you are good enough even if you're making a mistake in bed or something. It's not a big deal. So, like, let's openly talk about it, have honest, frank conversations about what you like, what you don't like, what feels good, what doesn't feel good, what you want more of, what you want less of. What are your fantasies that you have not been playing out or dismiss or suppress? So that's tip number 1.
Yes.
Open communication.
Yes.
Tip number 2, there is so much to say about how to bring sacredness and soul sex. But one beautiful exercise that is super easy to say is eye gazing throughout love making. Tip number 2, bring more depth in your lovemaking. There is so much that can be said on this. However, one easy exercise that you can do from today, next time you make love, is looking into your partner's eyes. Gaze into each other's eyes as you make love. And feel the love that you feel for one another. Try to connect with their essence, with their depth. In Italian, we say that the eyes are a mirror of the soul. And I think in English, you say they're a gateway for the soul. However, you can really feel someone through their eye. And, you know, research have shown that prolonged eye gaze will support creating deeper bonding by releasing hormones such as oxytocin, and just foster a deeper sense of connection and togetherness. And so doing that throughout lovemaking, it feels very exposing, but that's the point, because you want to bring more of you in lovemaking. So it has to feel challenging and exposing and vulnerable. And if you soften in that, the magic happens. So I'm sure that some people will find it confronting. And when you learn how to relax and soften in that, it could be very magical. And a warning, because I know from experience with a lot of clients, you might feel emotional while you do it. Either touch like in a positive way, or feeling the sadness for have done it earlier, and you might feel like crying. And if that happened, that sexual healing just right now happening, allow the tears.
Yeah.
Your emotions are so welcome in the lovemaking. They need to be part of it. Otherwise, you will not show up with all of yourself. So allowing tears, crying during sex, if it's not due to abuse or, just because you feel touched or some sadness come out, it's okay. It's not okay if someone is abusing you, if you're doing something against your boundaries, but emotion are welcome in the lovemaking. And the tip number 3, it would be to bring variety. So most couples tend to make love in the same way.
Yeah.
And to bring variety, you need to make a conscious effort. And variety could be like, let's role play a fantasy. We always have this 3 position. Let's, try a new position every time we make love. Let's change the routine we usually do. Let's do more oral sex, more anal sex, more touching. Let's discover where your G-spot is. Let's discover where your prostate is. Let's make love in a more animalistic, like more like passionate way. Let's make love in a more sweet way. So bring variety. Otherwise, the sex drive between 2 people is just going to die. And it doesn't have to be that way. I'm having the best sex I ever had in my entire life with my partner. We are like 4 years in the relationship. And there are a lot of things that can be done, and probably there's no time to talk about that. But like, sexuality is the area that you want to work on, prioritize, and put energy. And if you do, it's like a plant. It's like you're going to have a beautiful, flourishing garden full of flowers, and it's going to be alive and but if you don't, it just become like a desert. If you don't give water, if you don't, you need to take care of that side.
Yes.
And it will give you a lot instead of making people feel inadequate. So those are my 3 tips, summarizing them. First of all, communication, clear and honest. Second of all, eye gazing during lovemaking to bring depth, to bring more soul sex in the way of making love. And the third one is to bring variety, so that they can not always do the same thing. The number 1 intimacy killer is repetition. So stop doing it. And I'm sure that there are a couple listening. Most likely they're going to think, yep, we tend to make love in the same time frame, with the same position, with the same sequence. Break that.
Thank you so much for the tips. And for those who are listening and watching, if you are like, okay, so I have been making love the wrong way, well, perhaps you are, feel free to contact Elisa, because then she can help you out, honestly, from the inside out, and help you individually or as a couple, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I would love to support people feeling more sexually fulfilled, learning how to embody and embrace sacred sexuality and Tantra, which are very powerful tools to feel more satisfied sexually and feeling more whole and complete, alive and vibrant.
Yes, because I feel like when people are not really embracing literally all the sides of themselves, they're not really living. Like, we are capable to live life so fully and amazingly and with such energy, where you can, like you said, you know what, when we first started the conversation, you said you feel energetic, but also obviously, sad because you miss your family and stuff like that. But in that sadness, you still feel the amazing energy. And that, I feel like that is because you truly embrace the whole of you, and also because you have such intimate relationship with your partner, like really intimate. And I think more people should have that.
Definitely. Very nice, harmonious relationship. It's so amazing. Like, not only sexually, but also emotionally. And it's so beautiful to feel so heard and loved and really seen and supported. And also sometimes challenged, but in good ways, in ways that is supporting each other growth. Yeah, so I really, I really like the relationship I'm living, and I wish that more and more people will feel fulfilled and happy in their way of relating, because it's really adding in people's life when they're having relationship that they feel happy about. That doesn't mean that, single is being wrong, like, no, but I'm just saying, if you are in a relationship, it's nice to have a fulfilling relationship rather than a relationship that is draining you.
Yes, totally. You know how before you talked about women faking orgasms? I
Yes.
would love to touch on that because I personally feel like a lot of movies out there portraying how women should fake their orgasms so the male would feel more masculine and etc. But I actually feel like that's quite damaging for the relationship.
Yeah. So it's damaging because we want to bring more of us, right? We want to be real. We want to be authentic. And so if we are faking something in order to supposedly make someone else feel better, it's just not going to work in the long run, because there is a lie. So there is energy is not flowing as freely. Someone is doing something thinking that they're doing something good for the other, and the other one is doing something thinking they're doing something good for the other, but people are not as actually receiving it fully. And then what happened if, you mentioned like a woman faking the orgasm, if they're doing it over and over again, then it will start to be less interest in sex. Their partner will feel confused, and then slowly they will have less and less of that. And speaking about it, it's a taboo. And after 10 years saying, oh, I've been faking orgasm for so long, it's harder. So it's taken a lot more courage. And so that's from like the female side. And from the male side, how you can support a woman to be honest is by saying, I don't want you to feel pressure. It's okay if you come or you don't come. Like, I just want to hear what you like and what you don't. And then orgasm one day will come. It's not as important for me that you have an orgasm. What is important that you feel connected with your body, that you feel pleasure and you're feeling at ease and good, and you don't feel pleasure. And there is no need to make me feel good by, maybe faking that you like something. I actually want to know what you really like. And I'm humbling asking you that because, every woman is different and you are unique. So of course I might don't know what you like and what works for you. Let's find it out together, or let me know if you already know. So that creates a safe space for a woman to be honest.
Yes, that was so beautifully said. And that actually goes back to the number one tip that you gave everyone, which is clear communication. So thank you for saying
Yes.
that. For those people who are single, we are able to feel the pleasure too. So for those who are listening and watching, if you are not yet following Elisa, I will highly recommend you to, because she has been putting out stuff especially for women, about breast massage, about how there are 9 ways to orgasm. I think they're just amazing. And I want to quickly touch on that. Can you please tell the women audience how amazing and the benefits of breast massage?
Sure. So breast massage really supports self-love, connection with the body, and to awaken more sensitivity to the breast and the nipple, which can also lead to a lot of pleasure throughout lovemaking, and can also lead to nipple orgasm, which is one of the 9 types of orgasms. So if you massage your breast, you support that connection with yourself, which is quite important. We often dismiss that, but your breast is an important part of you, not only for how they look, for how they feel, for what they are, for their potential intrinsic in their existence of, feeding a baby, if you would like to have one or not. Still the potential is there, and they are beautiful and perfect as they are, whatever size, not believing what society told you that they should look in a certain way. And so through that massage, you can really support that connection, self-love, For a tantric perspective, you can also move energy around your heart chakra, so opening up in general to love. And in the love making, it will also bring more sensitivity to your breast. So I've seen that a lot with clients. More they're like touching certain part of their bodies, and more they're awakening that sensitivity, because you're teaching your brain that's important. You need to feel. The brain is constantly receiving information and is always filtering things out, right?
Yeah.
So that's like a superpower that we have, and it's needed. And so that's why you don't feel, whatever, where you're seated all the time. Not that maybe I'm saying it, you're probably becoming aware of the chair or the sofa or whatever you're seated. But usually you don't prioritize those information, so your brain is not registering them consciously. And so if you start to massage your breast, you're telling your brain like, yes, this is important, create connection, feel more. And then where they're touched during love making, you will start feeling more, instead of feeling not so much. And then also health reason, it keeps the tissue more healthy, bring blood flow. It can help with, if you have your breast changes with your period, it might get swollen. It can also support to have less pain. So there are a lot of good reasons. And my mom used to massage her breast every day, I remember. And her breast is like the best. She's 50 something. And I'm like, what the fuck? And she always told me, because I massage it every day since you were born, and because I give it a lot of love. So she just be like, and I remember her after every shower, she would spend 5 minutes massaging her breast.
Wow.
And she still does.
Wow.
And her breast is like the best.
Maybe that is something that I personally need to take on. But I actually love how you said that is a type of self-love, because I also feel like a lot of people out there, they don't really understand about self-love. That is why, they are kind of afraid of touching themselves, or even looking into the mirror. Like a lot of people, they are so shy about looking in the mirror naked and be like, okay, this is the me. What would be the 5 things or 3, some things that you would say to people to encourage them to really love themselves?
First of all, dropping the judgment. And it's easily said and harder to do, but my advice is anytime you notice yourself, anytime you're noticing that you're judging yourself, just take a moment to consciously make a conscious choice to drop that and not giving energy to that. Because more and more you stop judging yourself, and it's like a muscle. You're like training yourself to self-love and less judgmental attitude towards yourself. And so the first thing is like becoming aware of the time you're doing it and consciously making the choice to stop doing it. Then the second one is prioritizing things that make you feel good, such as giving yourself time for a bath. Like do things out of self-love more than out of, oh, that's what I should do. And an example even is, people can train because they feel fat and they should look a certain way, or people can train because actually it feels great in my body when I do that. So like try really to do things because they fill you up. And the third one is stop doing things that might support you judging yourself. For instance, do not watch certain people on Instagram if you find yourself comparing yourself with them a lot. Stop watching certain type of magazine if you're finding yourself criticizing the way you look or anything. Stop watching certain type of porn if they are, very performative towards sexuality. So just stop doing things that you are aware are jeopardizing your way of perceiving yourself.
So beautifully put. And like you said, it's a practice and it's like a muscle. You need to work.
I know that was an unusual ending to my normal chat. Unfortunately, there were some technical issues. The whole interview wasn't recorded. But I hope you have enjoyed whatever Elisa has shared. The insights about sexuality and how to have an amazing time with yourself and with your partner. I don't know if you're having a great time in the bedroom or not, or how often you look in the mirror and tell yourself how beautiful you are already. Honestly though, if you are interested to really connect with your body and to learn about all the amazing things that you are yet to experience, contact Elisa. All her details are in the description below. Now ladies, keep watching because Elisa is going to share with you about the 9 ways to orgasm. I would highly encourage the gentlemen out there to continue watching as well because you want to learn how to really connect with your partner, don't you? Alright, don't forget to subscribe, click the thumbs up button if you have loved it, and share it with someone because you never know what they're going through or what they might need. And remember, you're amazing and you are not alone. I will see you next time!
If you want to experience orgasmic sex and fulfilling relationship, you are in the right place. In this video, I will explain to you all the different types of orgasms that women can experience. Let's get started. Number 1, the clitoral one. So it's very explosive, it's like a volcano. And it's intense, beautiful. You can feel it mostly around the genitals area. Usually it doesn't last that long and often it's linked to a kind of like loss of a little bit of sexual desire or just a decrease of it because there's a lot of energy to get released. It can be reached within a few minutes from stimulation. You can also have multiple orgasms. However, the second and the third one usually feel a bit less intense than the first one because the energy got released through each orgasm as they are explosive like a volcano, as we said. Number 2, the G-spot. It feels yummy and it's beautiful. It can feel sometimes as a release of tensions. However, it's very pleasurable and the waves of pleasure often are not only around the genitalia but also flow through the whole body and system, which feels great. And women can experience them in a row and it doesn't really feel that they're losing energy with it because most of the time is implosive, so the energy can flow through the body and doesn't get released. Often it's very emotional, so the G-spot is connected with the pelvic nerve and these lead to sometimes have cathartic orgasms and quite emotional one. And these lead for a woman to experience an openness of her heart when she releases those unpleasant emotion or stagnant emotion from her system. She feels lighter and her heart feels more open, so she can feel more love towards herself and to connect as well on a deeper level with her partner. With the G-spot orgasm, sometimes it can lead to squirt. However, the two are not always linked and one can happen without the other one. Number 3, anal orgasm. Yummy. It's one of my favorites somehow. I really like it. It's like a thunderstorm. Oh, super intense. Animalistic almost, I would say. Very like passionate, very intense. It often comes with a release of tension from the hips and the feeling afterwards are amazing. It releases a lot of shame and guilt that sometimes we hold up tight around our anus. And it's very wonderful to really have it to relax as well the hips and allow energy to flow through the spine. It's one of my favorite. I really like it. It feels yummy. It requires a bit of time, so don't expect to reach it within a few minutes from stimulations. But it's beautiful and you can unlock it. There are so many nerve endings around the anus and it would be a pity to not use them, to not utilize this network that is there for your pleasure. Number 4, the A-spot orgasm. What? Where is the A-spot? So the A-spot is on the upper wall, just behind the G-spot. So if you insert the fingers, imagine that this is a yoni. Yoni is a Sanskrit word for vagina and vulva, which means sacred temple. How beautiful and yummy is this name? Seriously. So if you insert the finger a few centimeters in, you can feel a spongy area but it doesn't feel as rough as the G-spot. That's the A-spot. This orgasm as well can lead to squirt. However, the two, as I said for the G-spot, they don't always have to come together. It feels great and yummy, and women can experience multiple orgasms in a row. It can be explosive, but more often the energy flows throughout the whole body and activates the whole body. It doesn't stay just on the genitals. The number 5 is the cervical orgasm. It's very mystical. In the reflexology of the vagina, the cervix is connected with the heart space. So it really helps to open the heart, and it's also a very implosive orgasm, which means that energy doesn't get released, but actually flow throughout the whole body. And this translates into sensation, tingling, warm throughout the whole body, not only around the genitalia. It feels amazing, and it really opens the heart and connects women more to consciousness. Somehow it's really connecting women to their soul. And afterwards I feel this sense of bliss, wholeness and connectedness. Not only with themselves, but beyond that. Nipple orgasm. Feels amazing. It's really helped to open the heart, of course, around the chest area. I didn't think that actually my breasts could give me so much pleasure, but they can. There are a lot of nerve endings in this area, and if stimulated in the right way and be given the right attention, then they can lead to so much pleasure and yumminess. The clitoris and the nipple are connected in the same spot in the brain, and that can link to so much pleasure that often is neglected. Breasts in women's sexuality play a very fundamental and important role, and we shouldn't forget about the breast. In women's sexuality, the arousal flows through the mouth all the way down through the breast and through the genitalia. And so the breast is a very important part in women's sexuality, and it's best not to forget about it, but to give the right attention to it. Number 7, throat orgasm. You probably haven't heard about this, did you? Well, the good news is that giving a nice head can actually give you so much pleasure, beyond what you thought. So in women, the second chakra, which is the sacral chakra around the genitalia, and the throat chakra are very linked energetically. So as we open the throat chakra, is also helping to charging and opening the second chakra, according to many sexual traditions, such as Taoism and Tantra. Many women do a blowjob just for the pleasure of their partner, but they're missing out because they can actually experience a lot of pleasure, and it really helps to release the contraction that women hold on the throat chakra. Somehow the tendency is that we contract often this chakra and energy doesn't flow as well. So when we do that, we help to open this up, and it feels good. So it's a win-win. Number 8, full body orgasm. That feels awesome. It's the kind of, sometimes well known as the tantric orgasm or energy orgasms. It has been given different name. A lot of people ask me, is that a myth or is that the real thing? It's a real thing, and I've coached many clients in unlocking it. Somehow most people think it's something impossible, but it's not. With some practice and awareness, you can also reach that. The energy orgasm is a movement of energy, of sexual energy, throughout the whole body that gives kind of like goosebumps, tingling, warmth feeling throughout the whole body. And my first experience with it was actually during a shaking meditation, so it doesn't have to be linked always with sex. However, if you're having it as you're making love, it's also amazing and very powerful. And after you experience that, there is a sense of feeling whole and ecstasy and bliss. It's so beautiful to not having just a sexuality that stays on the genitals and doesn't move. We want to include the genitals, but to include the whole body. Even this morning, actually, I was feeling a little bit down. And then what happened is that I made love with my partner. And we didn't make love just, friction of genitals, but we made amazing love making in which we had multiple full body orgasms. And as I was experiencing that, I was feeling this state of bliss and ecstasy and openness. My thoughts shift and change, and those stagnant emotions that were there just disappear. Number 9, blended orgasm. So I've been speaking about them one by one. But you know what? Women can experience them blended. So you might have a G-spot orgasm as you're experiencing an energy orgasm, or maybe an A-spot and a G-spot together, or cervix and G-spot. So there is a possibility of mixing them up, which feels great. A lot of times it's hard actually to say which one was where, what, no, it just came, but where was it? So sometimes it's very clear, and sometimes there is a feeling of having them blended. So many that sometimes it can get almost overwhelming. But don't worry. Having orgasm and unlocking different types, it's something that you can learn. And the orgasmic journey is actually a beautiful journey. You don't need to feel overwhelmed from the start, feeling maybe not enough because you don't experience them yet. You just haven't learned about it. Having orgasm is something that you can learn. If you would like more guidance and take a step further in your orgasmic journey, have a look through my 3-part video series on the multi-orgasmic woman.